My next guest, Josh Bleak, is the chief executive of Passport Potash. Passport Potash is currently exploring a large tract of land in Arizona's Holbrook Basin. Josh, good to have you with us on Bloomberg.
Thank you.
You must be a very popular guy now because you've got a company whose name has one of the hottest fertilizer names, potash.
That's right.
How did you get into the potash mining business?
That's right. My family's business is mining. I'm fourth generation in a mining family. And in 2007, 2008, as the prices skyrocketed in potash, there was a lot of interest to this project in Arizona, and that's when we joined the field. We now have one of the largest, most significant holdings within the basin, and we're developing rapidly.
Tell me about this Holbrook Basin. Where is it in Arizona,
Sure.
and at what stage of development are you in?
We're in the northeastern region of Arizona. We're in the early stages of development. There was work done in the 60s and 70s that initially identified the basin and its potash potential. Then in 2008, there was an open file report released by the Arizona Geologic Survey. What that did was outlined 1 billion to 2.5 billion tons of potash potential in a 600 square mile area.
How big is that? I mean, how big is that compared to, let's say, the reserves of something like potash of Saskatchewan?
Sure. In comparison with Saskatchewan, it's small in nature, but for the U.S. being one of the largest consumers, to be a great regional supplier, the mines that we would be competing with in New Mexico and Utah, they've been developed in the 30s, the 50s, the 70s, so there hasn't been new development in the U.S. in some time, and that's what we look to be.
And what about the infrastructure? Because I imagine that, okay, once you've found the potash and you dig it out of the ground, it doesn't do any good if it stays there. You got to ship it to where the market wants it.
That's right. We have two huge advantages in Holbrook. One, the shallow depth, the shallowest being developed in North America. The other is that infrastructure, that access. We have rail located on our property. 550 miles to the west is a major international shipping port of Long Beach.
So this is an export-driven story as much as it is a domestic consumption story.
Absolutely. We think we have a great opportunity with a good U.S. regional base, and then the export opportunity exists with Long Beach.
Now, I got to imagine, though, that this is going to cost money to develop. I mean, you're not just going to start doing this by a shovel and pick. I mean, this is a big deal. How are you going to raise the money?
It is. What we need to do is the normal steps that exploration companies do. The first step is resource definition, which we're in progress now, then pre-feasibility and ultimately bankable feasibility. Then a lot of doors are open to our company at that point when we've proven it beyond a reasonable doubt, and we can look at project-specific financing at that point.
Any idea of like how much money this is going to take and how long it's going to take to start getting the potash out of the ground?
We look for the next 3 to 5 years to be very excited. We think we can be in production in the next 5-year range. It's $750 to $1 billion, $750 million to $1 billion capex for a project like this, but that's relatively small to the Canadian deposits ranging from $3 billion to $12 billion.
Well, one of the other reasons you reference Canada, and I bring in potash of Saskatchewan, is Passport Potash is a Canadian company, right? I mean, it's traded in Canada.
We're a Canadian company. We've just taken on a U.S. listing, and we're looking to expand that, our U.S. base currently.
Now, when you look at the potential for potash consumers, meaning the farmers out there, they're flush with cash right now. What do you think they're going to be willing to pay for this?
I think what we saw in 2008 with the run-up from 3 to 800 or so within a year, that wasn't sustainable. But what we've seen now in the U.S., a $550 range for a short ton of potash, that's a sustainable range, and that's what farmers are willing to pay. So that's where we need to be. We feel our project is very good, anything above $400. So we like the ranges where it is now, and we're excited for the future.
What about the employment picture? I mean, because you're going to need people in northeastern Arizona to get the potash out of the ground. I mean, is this an area where you're going to be hiring a lot of people?
Absolutely. 300 to 500 full-time jobs when we're in production, 1,000 to 1,500 jobs created throughout the construction stage, and this is huge for this area. We have a very proud area, a lot of generational ties to this area, and they're economically depressed now. They need jobs. That's the biggest thing. They're not looking for handouts in this area. They want the work, and we've had more support than I've ever seen with any mining project, and the impact that this would have on the area is almost immeasurable.
Now, using the potash to increase yields is something that we all know about, but I was under the impression that potash is not something that you have to buy. The fertilizer that you get from potash isn't something that you have to buy every season. You can defer it. So that is indeed what happened at one point, where farmers said, whoa, this is way too expensive. We're going to wait and see what happens to the price in the future. Have you seen that at all right now?
That's right. Production is up now. With the standoff in 2008, the lack of application, now they're starting to make make up for that. And so that's leading to the slow increase in price now. And then there's under-application in countries like India and China, and that's what we need to support. If they continue to apply correct amounts in order to gain that optimization of the arable land, then we'll see a huge market globally, not just in some of the developing nations.
All right, we're going to leave it there, but I want to thank you very much. Josh Bleak coming to us as the head of Passport Potash, giving us some insight into that very key fertilizer ingredient.